Hey man, how's it going? Ready to get going?
Can't believe he's gone.
I know, man. Your IR's never gonna look the same. Jesus Christ. Stop.
And we are back. First trade's a doozy. Matt got 50 fab. Ethan got Kenny Pickett. I mean, I guess you probably could have got more for Kenny Pickett.
But how much more is the question?
Yeah. I don't know.
It happened, man.
Yeah, Pickett sucks.
And 50
50 fab is worse. Maybe.
Because, like,
I don't know.
do I dare attempt to even make an effort on this video and, like, post what, like, our waivers look like right now, like, the available players? Because, like...
No.
Okay.
But he was a second-round pick, and you turned that into 50 fab a year and a half later.
Yeah, not ideal.
But I
At least
don't know
something.
I don't know who's paying more for Kenny Pickett, who in his last 3 games has scored 3.9, 10, and 6. And before that isn't much better.
Yeah.
Then we do have the
big one.
The big one. I traded Saquon Barkley and Steve's 2024 second. I got Matt's 2025 second, Trevor's 2026 first, and Evan's 2026 first.
So, I do like the return that you got. 2 firsts for Saquon, especially at his age of, I want to say 27. I can't click on it. 26. So, I think it kind of works out for both you guys. I think you capitalize on Saquon's value. You know, he obviously just got 1,000 points for you. So you got at least let him get the milestone before you got rid of him. And I also like it for Steve because he gets a pick this year, which he didn't really have a ton of, or any. I think I don't exactly know the pick count that he has, but and he is trying to go for it. As right now he's in a playoff spot.
He is. You're excited about that?
And, you know, I think it works out well for both teams. I think it's going to be interesting for Steve in the future, where we see a team where it's kind of solid, but it's also pretty middle-aged there, I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I made this move. I looked at my team, and I didn't quite think I was as good as some of those top teams, like the Trevor's Griff of the world. And Saquon is, I didn't want to trade him. It's really sad because he's so good. But the thing with him is just he's always kind of banged up. We did just make the joke in the intro.
Yeah.
But it was like the ACL, then next year was some knee injuries, and it was a high ankle, then this year was like another ankle. And he also, like, dislocates his shoulder and then, like, hyperextends his elbow. And then it's, like, a rib injury. And he's just kind of always banged up a little bit. So, if I did keep him... like, Woody... And the Giants are so bad.
Yeah, no, they're brutal.
And they're going to, like, kill him. He had 24 carries, 21, 36, 16, and 13, with some stuff on the ground. They got blown out so bad they, like, couldn't even use him in the last game. Like, I don't know. I think that's really good for Steve, like, getting... I think when you looked at Steve's team, he needed kind of like a difference maker. He had a lot of okay pieces, and I think Saquon can be that guy to score 20. If the Giants can ever move it down the field to the red zone and he could score a touchdown, like, he could be a difference 15 to 25 points a game guy for him, where he hasn't had someone super consistent like that. But I don't know. And it'd also be, where will he be next year? Will he go back to the Giants? Will he go to a new team, kind of what's his situation. So that was also kind of up in the air for me, where I didn't think I was, again, going to win this year. So there's a chance next year he's on the Chiefs and the best player in all of fantasy. There's also a shot next year he's on the Giants again.
And
they draft another running, like, you never know what's going to happen. So he could be really good next year or bad. I do think he'll still be good, but yeah. I thought it was just enough return. Would have liked some of the picks to be a little earlier, but
2 firsts or 2 firsts.
Yeah, you take what you could get. And then the last trade, Steve went out and got a quarterback. He got Sam Howell and Evan's 2025 second and 2026 fourth for Stafford, Renfro, James's 2025 second, Steve's 2025 fourth, and 2026 third.
So when you put it all together, it was pretty much Matthew Stafford, Hunter Renfro, and a third for Sam Howell.
Kinda.
Hunter Renfro, notably a guy that I definitely didn't think was going to be the wide receiver 2 on the Raiders this year. Never once said it. Don't fact check that. Let's just see what he's done this year. Yeah, at 0, and then 3, and then 3, and then 3, and then 1, and then 0, and then 3, and then 3, and then 5, and then 1.
Yeah, not good.
Not ideal.
Yeah, this isn't a huge move. I think I lean towards liking it for Steve. Stafford has played well, but hasn't really produced fantasy-wise. Again, they swap seconds for next year. I think right now, if you look at James and Evan's team, you go, James is probably going to be worse. But again, you never know what could happen. We thought Steve was going to suck this year. And now he's probably going to the playoffs.
Probably locked in at this point.
So, again, Evan moves up in the second round, gets Renfro. The fourth round picks, 2 to 3 years, I don't really matter, and then gets a third. So Stafford, Renfro, a third, and a move up in the second for Howell. I think I'd rather have the Howell side, where he's actually been, again, he's QB3 on the year, hasn't had his bye, but basically 20 points a game, has been playing well recently, might have a job going forward. But it's also tough with Evan's team. You're never going to really start Sam Howell over Kyler Murray or Justin Fields. Or not Justin Fields, Justin Herbert. So you want to trade him for something, and if this is the best you can get, that's the issue with QBs in 1 QB leagues. They're not worth a ton unless they're very, very elite.
Yeah. I pretty much agree with what you said. I do think Evan got a decent bit of capital, but what is a fourth? Do we even know that? Like,
Puka Nacua.
It could be Puka Nacua or it could be Darnell Washington. Shut up. Any big injuries this week?
Not really. I think we got through pretty well. No season enders besides Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Which he played the whole game, I think, and then they were just like, yeah, he's gonna have shoulder surgery, so we'll see him next year. So that was a little out of there.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's just you can just say he sucks and you're benching him, but
He played really well. They beat the Ravens.
That's right, they did.
And I think he did solid in that game, to say the least. 20 for 34, 213 yards, a TD and a pick, and then 37 yards on the ground.
Serviceable.
Yeah, against the tough Baltimore defense. I think it was oh man, maybe he's turning it around. And now he's out for the year, and we'll see
how Dorian Thompson-Robinson does.
Or PJ Walker, whoever they end up starting.
I think they announced today it's Dorian.
I don't know if he's got the job locked for the rest of the season, but
I don't think
first crack at it, sure. we'll see how that
They've
goes.
seen enough of Philip. But yeah, I just yawned a couple seconds ago, which means it must be time for power rankings.
And we're back with power rankings. Shockingly, I don't have you at 12.
I used to pray for times like this.
I've got James at 12.
Yeah.
His team isn't looking quite good.
Can't say they are.
Had the lowest points in the league last week.
That's what starting Tommy DeVito does to an MF.
Yeah. Just hasn't quite been there. I think, yeah, Mahomes coming back will help. But then the running backs, it's Miles Sanders and Dalvin Cook. Waiting for Pierce to come back from injury. Missed the past 2 weeks, but even before that hasn't been super efficient.
And he didn't practice today.
And then Kendra Miller's been not. He just doesn't really have anything at the RB position. He's just tight ends. And some receivers, but Pickens has been disappointing recently.
Especially with Deontay back.
Yeah, since basically that. Hopkins had the big 34-point game, and then 10 and 5.
Will Levis came back down to earth.
Yeah, and Cooks had a huge week, but I mean, they're playing the Giants, so that's not saying much. I don't know.
That Cooks was just about 43% of his points this week.
Yeah. But if we look at his playoff outlook, if he loses and me or Jasmine win, he's at a basically eliminated standpoint. A win, though, against obviously you, right?
Yeah, me this week.
He's still very alive in the playoff hunt, just because his remaining schedule would be against Jasmine, Steve, and myself. So the 3 teams ahead of him fighting for the playoffs. If he was to rack off a few wins, it would directly hurt the people he's chasing. And it was if he gets the win and me and Jasmine both lose, now he's 1 game behind, has both of us on the schedule, could still get into the playoffs. But again, I don't think the team's really there. But I think he has a chance, so I'm going to say he has about a 7% chance to make the playoffs.
Okay.
Number 11, I do have you.
I know it wasn't going that far.
Still not very good last week. 88 points.
That's what starting Taysom Hill at QB does to an MF.
Yeah. Singletary, though, it's that time of year.
It's that time of year.
Once you get to those double-digit weeks,
Devin Singletary becomes the greatest player ever.
Yeah, unfortunately, you don't have anybody else.
Yeah, dude, it was a bad week. Zay Flowers did serviceable. Gabe, Josh just loves missing him whenever he targets him. Cole Kmet, he did, 9.6. Not going to complain from
Let's ask some questions about Ryan's team. How are we feeling about Christian Watson?
The problem is, and it's going to be kind of a long answer, but the Packers, they're not using him like they did last year. I feel like Christian Watson is best when they use him laterally across the field, slants, drags in, stuff like that, where he has, that route running. From what I see, they mostly use him as a field stretcher, and even when he is moving laterally, Love is just firing it 5 yards over his head.
You think there's anything to it? When Christian Watson was out, Love had 7 touchdowns and 1 pick in 3 games. Since he's been back, he has 7 touchdowns in 6 games, and
Who are the teams he played?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Bears, Falcons, Saints.
Terrible mid.
Or, because what? Denver is such a stout defense.
Pass defense.
Minnesota, such a stout pass
All right,
defense.
that one you got me on.
Rams are locking everybody up.
All right, yeah, you got me.
I don't know. I think it's weird. I think their offense got worse once he came back. He also just doesn't seem like aggressive. I feel like they're taking shots to him, and he's like not going. I see Packers fans a lot being like, why doesn't he try to attack the ball while it's in the air? It's in the end zone. You're 6'4".
Yeah. You know, he's playing through. I feel like he has a different injury every week. This week it's shoulder. I wish I could view more than one news story. Sleeper, please, for the love of God, fix your website.
Next player. So where do we stand on him? Yikes. Hopefully next year it turns around.
Turn it around next year.
And then how do
Sophomore
we feel?
Slump.
How do we feel about Breece Hall, who over his past 4 games is averaging like 2 yards a carry?
Okay, the Jets O-line is so fucking bad. It's so bad. Like, I remember watching like clips from that game, and Breece Hall was having to break tackles just to get to where the ball's being handed off to him.
Yeah, I do. He's good in space. I don't think he's like a great, like in a tight box, make you miss in a phone box. I think is what it is. In a phone booth, whatever that saying is. I don't think he's great at that, but like he's still super dynamic when he gets like a screen or something, and has the open field.
He's so good with the outside run, and they're just like, nah, halfback dive.
Yeah, but also everybody knows they're gonna run.
That's fair.
I think it is more of like a Jets problem. I think he's still, when he catches like the past few games, he's had some big receptions. I think they just need to get him in the open field, and then he's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And just might not happen again until next year. That was a fun game with your team. And you are, eliminated from the playoffs. No hope.
Thank you, fans.
Number 10, I've got Matt. Matt did not break 100 again. Actually, I forgot what he did last week, the week before. Yeah, he did not. He hasn't broke 100.
This is normally where I would comment about that, but not this year.
But Garrett Wilson is still, like, doing enough to be fantasy relevant, even with Zach Wilson. If he gets, like, a real QB, man, he's probably going to be very good. Brian Robinson, sneaky RB6 on the year. Granted, he hasn't had his bye yet, where a lot of other players have, like, points per game. I think he's more towards, like, 12, which is still, like, a good season. I saw something that he also was averaging, like, let's see if they have it on here, 12 yards a catch.
Yeah.
So he's somehow nasty out the backfield in the Gibson role. He's nasty there. Don't know why they don't use Gibson there, but yeah. Again, it's just still...
We need to investigate Matt.
I feel like would have like 3-4 more wins if he just like would pick the right quarterback.
We need to investigate Matt. This is sickening. This right here is sickening. Will Levis over... I understand not starting Josh Dobbs, but Geno Smith's playing Washington, who traded the majority of their defense with the trade deadline.
Geno Smith hadn't scored more than 15 points since week 2.
Shut up. That's not fitting my narrative.
Like, I get the good matchup, but Geno hasn't been a great fantasy QB. Dobbs is a little risky, and it's like, yeah, maybe I would have gone with one of them over Levis, but it's just like, I feel like most of Matt's games, it's like, man, this was close. If you just started this guy instead, you're right there. Granted, that's probably a lot of people with their teams too. Like, man, finally started this guy, but
me with Taysom Hill for 3 straight weeks. So I was like, man,
yeah, this is a big glaring. Matt, either other QB, you have a win this week, but that was not the case.
Not the case.
Again, Matt, kind of in the same situation because he has the same record as James. Basically, he's eliminated with a loss, and then me or Jasmus winning, and I give him like a 2% chance of making the playoffs. Not high, but I guess it's not 0 yet. Number 9, I have myself. Put up 115, pretty reasonable week, but that helps when your QB basically puts up 40.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm doing pretty good, but nope, that's just Dak cooking the Giants. Everybody else, Warren had a good game. First game over 100 yards, I think. 19 points. I think they even said he was like the starter.
Yeah.
Over Najee, but I don't think much is going to change. They're probably still going to like split 50-50-ish, kind of like they have been doing. Ramondre has looked all right recently. Again, was pretty bad towards the beginning, but has a pretty favorable stretch of defenses going up. Was kind of banged up last game, but again, just kind of on a bad offense. Michael Thomas is out now. It finally happened.
Yeah, he also got arrested.
He did. Any receiver that plays with Derek Carr
It just
gets
has
arrested.
to go to prison.
And then Quentin Johnson scored a touchdown, so that was cool.
Good job, buddy.
Thanks, man. There's no way I'm either in or out. So just winning would help my playoffs.
Losing would not.
Losing would not. I'll give me like a 40-ish% chance to make the playoffs.
Not likely, but more likely than some.
Yeah. Like 50-50. Almost.
Almost.
8. I have Cherry.
We need another investigation we have to have right now.
Yeah, Cherry started Andre Iosivas.
It's I think because there's a guy who I heard keep saying it's like Iosovas.
Sure. It was a good try. Crazy started him.
Yeah.
That's that. But Cherry still has like a solid team. Rashad White's been like so bad, but good at the same time. It's like gets receiving work, has been scoring touchdowns. Like he's not efficient out there by any means, but again, volume is king, and he's been getting the volume. Calvin Ridley continues to kind of disappoint this season with a 4-point performance. Sutton scored another touchdown. He's doing that like every week. And Bijan got 22 carries.
Look at that. Arthur Smith is finally like, man, maybe I do care about fantasy football.
And Walker scored 19 points again. But still kind of getting 50-50 splits with Charbonnet. I think, yeah, Cherry's got a good team. We know that. It's not great by compared to some of the other teams in the league, but good and pretty young. Cherry, again, he needs wins badly and then needs some stuff to go right for him. I give him about a 28% chance of making the playoffs. I don't think it's too likely, but crazier things have happened. Number 7, I have Evan. Evan put up 102, just snuck out the win in his Super Bowl versus Matt. Gibbs is on fire, playing super well. Noah Brown is the best receiver in football for some reason. He's nasty.
Yeah. Noah Brown, 75-yard catch.
And the rest of his team doesn't do much.
Yeah. Juju. That was such a bad game. The Germany game
Yeah,
Saturday
I
was
did not watch
terrible. I slept through it, and I watched like the fourth quarter. Like, this is some of the worst football I've seen in a while.
I was at a Frisbee tournament. But yeah, he didn't have Waddle or Smith, which will definitely help. It's so weird. Like, if they're both back playing good, especially like a Smith without Goddard, if Gibbs is going crazy still, if Noah Brown is still unstoppable, it's like this team might have a chance.
Only a game out. I mean, 4 to go, so you're running out of time, but not impossible.
And then for him, a win ties him with Zach and basically allows him to control his own destiny. A loss to Zach this week makes things a little bit tougher because Zach is ahead by a ton of points, but he plays Zach twice in these next 4 weeks.
I think this is the second time in a row where, like, to end the second year in a row, to end the season, Zach and Evan are playing twice, and, like, the winner, it's like a significant advantage for playoffs. I believe that happened last year.
Let's check. I know they did play twice last year.
They played 3 times last year.
Yeah. Yeah, they played 5, 10, and 13.
Yeah.
And now they're playing 11 and 13 or 14 or something. But, again, if he wins out, does have a pretty tough schedule. He's in the playoffs, for sure. So we'll see. A big win this week allows him to control his own hope. I give him about a 45% chance to get to the playoffs. Next, 6, I have Jasmus.
Look at Jasmus.
Jasmus put up 106. He did have to start Nick Westbrook-Akine and Allen Robinson, who combined for 1.9 points. That's not great.
No.
We'll be getting Cup back from a bye, and Pacheco also back from a bye. Also, we'll be getting possibly a Chan off of IR, who showed he can just win you games.
Yeah.
The only issue here is that's another running back and not a receiver. So I'll still have to start Nick Westbrook-Akine going forward, and I think that's the big question mark when you look at his team, because Najee's been playing better, Eckler looks good, keeps scoring touchdowns, Cooper was playing well, Ingram's been a solid tight end, Foreman and Gus keep scoring touchdowns. Add Achan and Cup, plus gets Fields back. I think this team is kind of getting healthy-ish and looking up, ready to put out a full lineup at like the right time. I wonder if he makes a move for a third receiver. That would be the only thing. Maybe trade one of those RBs and tries to get just a serviceable wide receiver 3. He also needs wins, and kind of the same as me. I give him like a 40-ish% chance of making the playoffs. I know one of us will probably do it. Don't think James or Matt are going to rip off the wins, but you never know.
Could even be both.
No. I don't think it can.
No.
Because I think they play each other. Nope, they don't. But me and Jasmus do, so one of us is like guaranteed to win.
What if you tie?
That would be something.
That would be. We had a tie in a different league one year.
That's cool.
It's a super auction.
True. Number 5, Steve.
Look at him go.
The little engine that could. He didn't break 100 last week, but I think that has to do with Derek Carr getting hurt. Could have had Love or Russ in there, or now has traded for Sam Howell to be the QB. Again, you look at this team, it's solid. Debo, 15. Saquon, only 7, but I think
Cowboys.
better defenses for him are ahead. Christian Kirk still played well. Kincaid's been very good. Boyd, 19, and he kind of does have those options of like Ford or Hunt off of the bench. Could go to Jacoby Myers, again, tough kind of matchup up against the Jets. Trey McBride's been going crazy. It's like he has a lot of options and a lot of depth, so like one injury won't kill him. Has a few kind of higher tier players, but a lot of it's going to be he needs to set the right lineup. If he picks the right guys, could be a solid team going forward. If he beats me and also a Jasmus loss, would I say give Steve about like a 95% chance of making the playoffs. Sitting right now before this week, I'd say still at like a 82% chance. Is up the game. Has some wins still on his schedule that I could definitely see. And yeah, big matchup for me this week. 4, Ethan.
Put up a respectable number this week.
Yeah.
Even with Trevor Lawrence playing like absolute dog shit.
He's kind of done that all year. Also had Travis Kelce on a bye. Derrick Henry didn't do really anything, but Olave did once Jameis got in there. We'll see if that keeps up. Keenan's a beast. Jamar Chase is very good. And Javante's been looking a lot better as of late.
And Derrick Henry, kind of ass.
Yeah. The only thing here is, again, we've talked about it a little bit. The bench isn't quite there. Jahan Dotson scored 0 points after we were like, man, he's back. He had 24 and then 16. Then he put up 0.
Attaboy.
So I think the only question here is, like, will one injury kind of derail his postseason? 2 injuries, even worse. But he has already clinched a playoff spot. And he clinches a bye this week if he wins and Steve also loses.
All right. So he's looking to clinch the bye.
I think he will get there. Maybe not this week, but eventually for sure.
Who wins the Mickey Mouse division?
3, I have Zach. Zach went crazy against me last week.
Yeah, he didn't have to do all that, but he did.
Yeah. McCaffrey was good. Burrow was good. CeeDee's Lambs.
Shut the fuck up.
He's been really good. He's, I guess, like been like historically good these past 3 weeks. Over 150 yards, 10 catches, and a touchdown in his past 3 games. Just
insane.
Ridiculous. And everybody else also did good on his team. Even had David Montgomery putting up 17 on the bench and Jaden Reed 19 on the bench. So looking very strong this week. Just will it keep up and keep going on? He wins. It very much helps his chances. A loss, again, going to be tied with Evan, but has like a 300-point lead. So it's like Evan has to, if they're at the tied record at the end of the season, Zach's going to probably get in unless Evan outscores him by 300 over the next 4 weeks. So
not impossible, but very improbable.
I think he's looking good. I have him at about 72% chance of the playoffs. 2, Trevor.
He's good.
Trevor's also solid. 126.
Very respectable performance.
Yeah. Did it. No Tyreek and AJ Brown and Puka, which are like wide receiver 1 and 2 on the year. And then like 10.
Yeah.
Like it's to still be this good, missing all of that. Kind of scary. Hawkinson put up 30. Everybody else did their job. Lamar didn't even really play great, only 13. Getting all those guys back. If he stays healthy, it's going to be a very good team and probably a very good playoff run. Win, again, basically puts him in a very good spot. Wouldn't quite clinch it, but pretty much right there. I say I'm at about an 89% chance to make the playoffs. He's also still fighting with Griff kind of for that bye, as is Zach, but it's all close. Nothing, a win and a Griff loss would help him get closer to the bye. That's kind of all that is right now. And speaking of Griff, he is number 1.
Yet again.
Still 9-1. But that one loss. It's so funny.
It's so funny. I tweeted it was going to be the silliest thing, and it's becoming sillier. It's becoming sillier.
But yeah, put up 132. Amon-Ra put up 30. Kamara's been ridiculous. He was suspended 3 games and is RB5 on the year. Like, that's just came back, and I think he has 1 game under like 15 points, and it was 11. Like, it's just so good. Tank Dell is nasty.
Yeah.
He gets like obliterated and then just walks back in and
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, your draft steal Saki goes to.
yeah, basically. And this was without Swift, without Mostert. Again, Mostert might be affected a little bit with Sean coming back. But possibly getting Jefferson back off of IR. That's only going to make this team better.
Yeah.
He clinches the playoff spot with a win this week. Give him about a 99% chance of making the playoffs and is, at this point, just looking for a bye. And that's power rankings with playoff implications.
Stop asking it in questions. Now matchup previews. And we are back with matchup previews. Adam, say what you say.
Last week, you went 3-0.
Road to the comeback trail.
Picked up 12.3 points.
Look at us go.
All-time record 17-13. Your total points 70.6.
We back.
I went 2-1. Did not call the Jasmus upset. But I still managed to get 8.2, so you only gained 4 on me.
Baby steps.
And you are up. I'm up to 90.8 points, so still like 20 ahead.
Baby steps.
You need to get 5 points. You basically got to do this plus more for the next 4 weeks straight.
And playoffs.
True, and playoffs.
Anyways, any storylines, or they all kind of smell out loud?
Yeah, we'll have them for this week. None
None
from last week.
Okay. So, I am still picking first. And there's a lot that could happen here. I'm going to do something kind of unprecedented. Maybe it's not unprecedented. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
I don't either, man. Do something unprecedented.
Give me the Devil Rays for 5.4 points, taking on the Gladiators. Griffin is projected to lose by 9. I don't think that happens. And also, I really want to be the only team that's beat Griff. That would be really funny. So, give me the Devil Rays.
Yeah, I think Amon-Ra probably has a pretty good game. Tank Dell versus Arizona could do very good there. And, I mean, Eagles, Chiefs could be a very fun game. So maybe Swift gets involved over there. And Mostert, if he plays, and if they're, like, kind of slow bringing back Chan against the Raiders. Raiders' run defense has been very bad, so I think he has a good week there. On Ethan's side, I think, Diggs has a little bit of a tough matchup going up against the Jets. Same thing with Josh Allen for Griff. Don't love Lawrence against Tennessee. I do like Kelsey versus the Eagles, though. I think this will be a pretty close matchup. It'll kind of also depend on what Jahan Dotson does. Will it be a 0 or will it be a 20? He is going up against the Giants, though, so that leans in his favor.
Might be a 40.
Might be a 40. Griffin and Ethan. Griffin is 6-0 all time. Perfect record versus Ethan. 328-point differential. So that's pretty good, I'd say. And I think the funniest thing, too, is every time Griff's played Ethan, he scored more than he did the last time. Started 136 to 142 to 145 to 151 to 152 to week 6 this year, 166. We may see a Griff 170 bomb this week.
So what you're saying is Griff's over-under in points is like 168.5 right now.
Yeah.
All right. Bet now at the defunct Sock League Sportsbook that happened like years ago.
So yeah, that's a fun one. Me, I'm gonna pick.
Do it.
I'm gonna pick Trevor to beat Jasmus for 5.6 points.
No, for 4.4 points.
4.4 points. You're very right. Trevor for 4.4.
Yeah, Jasmine's still starting Nick Westbrook Akine.
And I think that could be the difference.
It just might be.
Don't love Najee versus Cleveland. Again, Amari now with another different QB. I think Fields could have a pretty big week in his first game back. Zay Jones also arrested.
Yeah. He's limited by a knee injury. No, he's limited by the police.
And a knee injury. Yeah, if Zay Jones plays, I saw a picture of him in in the courtroom in like a jumpsuit, orange jumpsuit, and other felons behind him, and I was like, look at Zay Jones. Then people were like, any update? And they were like, he's in the courtroom.
Any update? He has a knee injury.
Yeah, if he could play, that would definitely help Jasmus, but if not, again, A.J. Brown's been nasty, Tyreek's been nasty, Hawkinson's been good. There's just not a lot of weak spots over here. We'll be without Taylor and Michael Pittman, but I think Trevor still gets the job done. And then Trevor is 6-2 versus Jasmus and won their Week 7 matchup earlier this year.
Get some big numbers with these records. I like that. I remember when I used to write these out, be like, yeah, man, Trevor's 2-1 against Jasmus, or whatever he was at the time of me writing it. Now it's like, oh, we actually have like a lot of games.
Yeah, people, I think the most is someone has played each other 11 times.
I think it's Griff and Trevor.
I think you might be right.
I think I've also played
Griff and Trevor at 10, as well as me and Griff. There might be a 11 in here somewhere.
I might have one that's at that.
No, you don't even have a 10.
Well, sorry.
You've got a 9 against Griff. Somehow it's Griff versus everybody.
Griff has just played everybody way too much.
Zach and Evan are going for matchup 10. And yeah, no one's at 11.
They will be
10 is the max.
Because Zach and Evan have 2 games.
True.
Again, so they'll be they
5 in 2 years too.
Yeah, which is wild.
Then are we gonna both in the playoffs make it 6 in 2 years? Gotta love Sock League. All right,
gotta love it.
What are you picking next?
I was looking to see if Griffin and Trevor or Zach and Evan second game happened first. See who'd be the first to 11, and it might be like the same week that it happens. It's not. I lied.
What?
I was trying. Actually, yeah. So we're gonna have the first 11 games played on the same week because the second matchup between Evan and Zach and Trevor and Griffin happened week 14. So in the same week, we're gonna have.
And I think there is a higher chance than Evan Zach that we could get Griff and Trevor in the playoffs against each other.
Yeah,
that's a
fun one.
Fun one for sure.
All right, back to week 11. Here we are. It's time. We are picking the Crusade to beat the War Eagles for a whopping 6 points. And here's why I say that. I already know
want it to happen.
I already know what Adam's going to say. He's starting Miles Sanders and Dalvin Cook. I'm saying, yeah, dude. When was the last time anyone on my team not named Zay, Brees, or Devin has dropped more than 10 points?
Jalen Hurts 2 weeks ago.
Shut the fuck up. I'm starting Rondale Moore. What is going on?
Yeah.
It's sickening. And I just think at this time that James is going to have some guys that are going to cook.
This is a huge matchup for you and Cherry.
Yeah, no, it's huge. Like, this is a must-lose game.
Yeah, this could be theoretically for pick one.
Me hoping Adam doesn't notice when I sub Brees Hall out at 12:59.
Yeah, that'll play off well. But I do think this will be close. But I think you're gonna win.
Stop.
Like Pickens against Cleveland, don't like that. He's already been doing bad. Wise going up against a hard defense gonna help him. Kate Otten versus San Fran, don't love that.
Schultz might get 70 against Arizona.
Schultz has a hamstring injury and is limited in practice.
I don't care. He's playing.
It's like if Hopkins could have another 30-point week, I think James could pull this out. But man, James was on track for like 60 points.
Yeah.
He was on track for like 50.
It was 54 before he put Mahomes in.
Well, before Brandon Cooks went for 30 last week. A 30 bomb for James will get him to 80. That's the world we're living in.
It's not great.
I don't know. It's going to be an all-time bad matchup.
It's like that a movie you go see where you know it's bad, but you're just like slightly interested. Like how bad could it really be?
He is averaging more points than you on the year, 98 compared to 90. We'll see if that holds true, or if you get the win.
I already know that these next 2 weeks are going to be the weeks where my team's like, yeah, no, here's 160. Why not?
You guys, James is 4-2 versus you and has won 3 straight. So we'll see if he makes it 4, or if you stop the win streak. I think it'll be close, no matter what.
Yeah, the over-under for this game in the now defunct Sock League Sportsbook from all these years ago.
168.
No, not even that. It's like...
I think you guys could both get to 80.
I don't. I'm putting it at like 1... I'm putting it at 130...
1 point.
142.5.
I think it'll be funny when you break that alone.
Please don't.
Next up, I'm gonna pick.
Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna pick me to lose against Steve for
A measly
3.1. Steve 3.1. Just, it's tough out here. It's gonna be tough.
With the Tank Bigsby play.
You don't want to be starting Tank Bigsby.
You don't. Andre on the bye.
Yeah, Ramondre and Zach Moss on the bye.
I'm sure, if
Kyle
Ashley's
Pitts on
right
the bye. Jawan Johnson on the bye, and Dallas got her hurt.
So who do you think Adam should start?
Well,
Pierre.
Bigsby or Pierre Strong?
Pierre.
I might start Pierre.
Yes. There's a big chance.
Big chance.
You're also going with the
Tommy Tremble. It's bad. I've got Kyle Phillips in the flex. You don't want to hear the big trio of Tank Bigsby, Tommy Tremble, and Kyle Phillips.
It's very funny because I laugh at this when you have still a good shot to outscore my team this week.
It's gonna be rough. And then you look at Steve, Sam Howell versus the Giants, probably gonna cook. James Conner versus Houston, still not a great run defense, probably gonna go well. Saquon versus Washington, pretty good matchup for him. Debo versus Tampa Bay, good matchup. Terry, again, versus the Giants, good matchup. It's
something.
It's I don't think going to be great for me by any means, and I think that was part of the reason why I was like, man, maybe I trade Saquon. I looked at some of these matchups I had, and I was like, my half my team's on a bye, and the half that's not is hurt, and I'm starting Tommy Tremble.
War Eagles legend Tommy Tremble to you.
Yeah. How many times did you start him, you think? Am I starting him more in a week on the team than you have?
I started him 1 week. 1 week.
I'm sorry. I'm feeling you. We'll see who he does better for, me or you.
We'll see.
But Steve is 1-0 versus me, and he's going for career win number 10. Again, A little shorter time in the league, but he'd be breaking double digits. Good for him.
Good for Steve. And I'm going to go with another game that I want to see happen and also would get me good points to catch up. We're taking the Bison over the Steamrollers.
How many points? 5.6.
5.6 points. Matt is starting Josh Dobbs this week. Good for him. James Cook versus the Jets is a pretty good matchup. Brian Robinson versus the Giants. He might average 75 yards a catch. Garrett Wilson against Buffalo. Buffalo's defense is torn up and they kind of stink. And like we said, Rashee Rice in the Philadelphia Kansas City game could be really fun. Ashley is nodding as I say Rashee Rice. I feel like she graded him really high in the draft because his name was Rice and she was hungry.
No, it was because it was Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think Matt might be able to pull off this upset. Rachaad White versus San Fran, don't love. Same thing with Kenneth Walker versus the Rams, don't love. And Matt does have some good matchups. I think this will be a pretty close game. Plus, they have the Atlanta backfield, Bison and Algier on a bye. Steve also will be missing Rashid Shaheed.
Steve.
Oh, Matt. Did I say Steve?
You said Steve.
Oh, sorry.
You should be.
But I think this might be
They say I hate the cran.
Might be a pretty close matchup. All time, Matt Cherry is 6-2 versus Matt, winning 4 straight with a 201 point differential, and Matt was the first to hit 60 losses, and 50, and 45.
Should I clap for that?
I don't know, man. It's been tough.
All right, and that leaves one game for you.
That does leave one game for me.
I have to remind the people what this is, Adam. We have to remind the people what Sock Talk is.
And this is one of, obviously, we got the big matchup with you for, like, the Tank Bowl. This is a big possible playoff implication matchup. Probably the biggest of this week, besides maybe me and Steve. That's also very big. But I'll do it. We're riding with the Anteaters.
What is this, Adam? Say it with me. This is an Anteaters Stan account. Let's go. We ride with the Anteaters. Christian McCaffrey hasn't been hurt in a while. Probably going to happen. CeeDee Lamb, it's got to stop eventually, right? J.C. Horn might be back. Like, maybe he gets clamped. Devontae Adams, he's mid. Let's be real. He's mid. Mike Evans playing San Fran, not great. George Kittle, cool. But Noah Brown might be the best receiver in the NFL.
True.
And Devonta Smith versus the Chiefs, another big game. Jerry Jeudy versus Minnesota, they're not very good. Jalen Waddle versus Vegas, they're not very good. But we ride with the Anteaters.
I do still think Zach will win. If I had a gun to my head.
We do not think that Zach will win.
But I think it'll probably be closer than what the percentage is at right now. It's also like Zach just had a dominant week.
He's due for a stinker.
Maybe not for a stinker, but he probably doesn't put up 180 again. So
famous last words. You're right. He puts up 190.
Yeah, he might. He has the possibility. I just think there's a few tough matchups, which you kind of already highlighted. And I think there's a chance if Gibbs keeps cooking, Smith and Waddle both off buys, and Noah Brown in that good matchup, I think there's a shot that Evan does pull this one out. And Evan is 5-4 versus Zach, but Zach has won the previous 2. So we'll see if Evan can make it 6-4 or if Zach ties it up.
Anteaters stand account. And this isn't the end of our show today, because we are doing questions, so stick around. All right, we are back to questions from around the league. We have 3 questions. One of them I've kept a secret from you. It's really not that big. I just thought, I might as well do it. It might be a funny bit.
Big secret.
But let's start with one of the ones that our wonderful league members submitted. Adam, what is a question that we got?
I only got one.
Well, I sent you one. Did I not text it to you?
Nope.
Uh-oh. All right, I now sent the other question to Adam. So, Adam, what's one of the questions?
James. Okay. This is obviously going to be one of the deepest QB classes in recent memory. Where do you think Caleb/May go? And where do you think the rest of them fall? Sanders, Penix, Ewers, McCarthy.
So, obviously, I think that Caleb and May right now, probably top 5 NFL. For Caleb, I feel like he is a very hyped prospect. I wouldn't be shocked if in our draft he went like early second, maybe like
Late first.
late 11, 12.
Yeah,
Like, if you're taking him at 8, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah, I think it's a big depends on obviously where he goes, everything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Caleb's basically gonna go pick one. I think May.
Depends on how the order stacks up.
I think this is where we could get a little bit. I think Sanders is going back to school,
I believe so.
and didn't Ewers already say he?
Google is free.
Or like I think it might be implied that he is.
Quinn Ewers is expected to return to Texas next season.
Okay. Yeah, because maybe it's not. Yeah, probably not 100% confirmed, but it seems likely.
It actually says right here 90%.
Okay, because I think then people were like, "Where's Arch gonna go?" If they have both of them again next year.
Yeah.
Or does he leave, or does he just sit another year? Whatever. So I think Sanders, and like Dion basically said, Sanders I think is going back. I think he will. So that leaves Caleb, May, Penix, McCarthy. I think McCarthy is closer to May, maybe. I think McCarthy's looked really good this year compared to, I think his deep ball got a lot better from last year to this year. I think he's kind of just overall been better. He's a pretty good athlete. So I think come NFL draft time, there might be a case for like him also top 5 or him compared to May for that QB2 spot. But again, he still has like Ohio State coming up and then probably college football playoffs. I think if he kind of like wets the bed there, it'll probably die down. I think if he has some really good games there against like that tougher defense, they were supposed to go crazy. They were supposed to see what can he do against the Penn State defense. But then they just ran all over him and he threw the ball like 8 times and had like 7 completions for 60 yards. I'm pretty sure that's the exact stat line. But I think the film, I think he's looked better this year, and I think he might be closer to May when things are all said and done than he is right now. So I could see possibly Caleb 1, McCarthy/May 2, and then the other one maybe like pick 4 or 5, or if someone trades up. Right now it looks like the Bears are at 1, Giants 2, New England 3. I wouldn't be surprised to see that go Caleb, May, McCarthy if it held that way. If Green Bay is picking up there, which they are currently at 6, I could see them taking 1. Rams, like a lot of these teams, could probably take 1 if they're there. Someone could trade up. I think Penix Probably late first. He's old, and I think has like 2 ACL surgeries already. So the knees might not be exactly there. And if you kind of like watch him play, he just sits in the pocket and kind of has all day and cooks the Pac-12 way. Kind of a concern about Caleb is too, that like sometimes he's sitting in there for years.
Yeah.
And throws to someone 30 feet of separation everywhere. And then I'll throw in Jaden Daniels too. I think he could be a late first guy. He's been maybe like the Heisman this year, really good on LSU. And I think he'd be very interesting for fantasy because I think he has the most rushing upside out of everybody. I think the past few games he's ran for a lot of yards. These are, let's go to 2023 game logs. Last few games, he's thrown for 325, 279, 219, 372, and then ran on the ground for 93, 6, 163, and 234 on 12 carries. And that was against, like, again, SEC teams. Throwing for 200, rushing for 160 against Bama, not bad. Throwing for 370, rushing for 230. That's 600 yards by himself against Florida. Not bad.
Not
I
bad
think
at all.
if he ends up in the first round, again, another older prospect. I think he's like a redshirt senior. I saw something that he went up against Herbert when he was on Arizona State and Herbert was on Oregon. So it's like gonna be older.
Yeah.
Considering Herbert's now getting his second contract. It was a funny tweet.
Yeah, so according to Tankathon's mock draft, it goes Williams, May, 1-2. They don't have another quarterback till 11, Michael Penix. And then the next quarterback after that, if I read this, is J.J. McCarthy at 21. Following that, it's Bo Nix at 34.
True, I did. He's been playing well this year.
He also, I believe, played against Joe Burrow and at Auburn.
Yeah,
So,
probably. Another really
old
old guy.
They also have Shadur still here at 38.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, again, these can change. The draft is a while away.
Yeah, I think it will still be deep, even with Sanders and Ewers going back. I think McCarthy could even go back too. But I think those are probably going to be the top 3, and then I think Penix is going to be like a late first, and I think Daniels will probably be like maybe like a second late first guy, where if he goes to the right situation, it could be a good fantasy situation for him.
Yeah.
Next question. From Trevor, he goes, do you think this year is the widest margin between contenders versus non-contenders? After Griff, Zach, Ethan, and Trevor, it feels like a massive drop-off. I have not done the research, so thanks for the answer.
So, I mean, looking at like an entire league-wide standing, I probably have to go to the weekly. I can't even do that on the website. I kind of get it, but I also kind of disagree. Like, even if when you look at this division, it's like, okay, 9-1, 7-3, 7-3. The next team's 6-4. It's only one game back, and 5-5. Obviously, there's a drop off from me to Cherry. 5-5 to 1-9 is vastly different. And even in your division, I can kind of see it a little more. Where I see 8-2 to 5-5 is a big drop off. Then you have 2 4-6s and 2 2-8s.
I think where we do see the big tier break is Trevor's averaging 150, Griff averaging 150, Zach averaging 142, Ethan averaging 142. Then the next highest is me with 117. So I'm more than 25 points behind in points per game. Everybody else, even like Evan, who has a good record, only 108 points per game. So Yeah, he's only a game behind Trevor, but he's 40 points a game behind Trevor.
Yeah.
Where I think that's kind of more where you see the drop off compared to some of the other spots. Because again, also looking at like the all play records, Griff 95 and 15, Trevor 93 and 17, Ethan 86 24, Zach 85 and 25. So all 85 wins or more. Then it drops off to me at 57 and 53, so like just above 500, where they're all pretty dominant. So I definitely see where he's coming from. I think those are the 4 best teams, and will probably be the 4 teams that are in the second round of the playoffs. First round might just be a formality. But I do think we've seen this before.
What?
Nothing. If you look back to other years, like last year, it was Jasmus was kind of dominant.
Kinda. He didn't lose a game.
Yeah, but then towards the end of the year, it was kind of like tailing down. Do you think he was much better than every other team?
I mean, there was a time. Obviously, Cooper Kupp getting hurt, it's a little less scary, but it's still a good team.
That is true. But I think if we go to last year's standings, like he might have been, yeah, I guess it was kind of just him at the top. But then again, he didn't even win it. You go the year before that, 2021, right? Yeah. I think if you kind of look at some of the highest scoring teams, there was like Trevor, Jasmus, Cherry, and James. That one, I still think it was kind of like Trevor or Cherry's show. Ended up not winning, but I think he was like clearly the best. 2020, Cherry just dominated that whole year. No one was close. So again, we're kind of seeing like one team head and shoulders above the rest. 2019, I think it was basically just me and Trevor. If I remember, that was the year I won. I was like, yeah, I'll probably win this. And I'll probably go up against Trevor, and that's the only team I'm really scared of. I don't remember everything from that year. That was many seasons ago. And then I think the first year was a little bit more even. James looked really good. I had a lot of points. Trevor had a lot of points. And then...
And somehow I bullshitted my way through there.
Yeah. I think first year it was a little more even because it was kind of more redrafty of everybody had their team. No one really blew it up yet. No one really bought like crazy yet. So it was more just an even playing field where I think there was a lot of closeness throughout the whole league. But I think the interesting thing this year is there is no one really that head and shoulders above. Like, I think Griff has been very dominant and has the best record, but then you compare him to the Ethan, Trevor, Zach. I'm not like, yeah, man, I got Griff in a landslide.
I mean, even this week, we got Griff projected to lose by sleeper.
Yeah, to Ethan. And he has played Trevor once, but like his next 3 weeks are Ethan, Zach, Evan, then Trevor. So like he's playing all of those teams. So is he just 9-1 because he only had to face the juggernaut of the War Eagle?
Hey, man.
But I think, yeah, it's a little different because I think all of those 4 teams are so close compared to maybe just like 1 or 2 teams that kind of seem a tier above. And I think there might be a bigger drop-off from those 4 to everybody else in past years compared to, I guess, when you split those top 4 up and it's like 2 really good, 2 solid contenders, 2, and then 2 if they got hot at the right time kind of teams. So I do think it's different, and I think we've been saying it the whole year. If I had to pick right now who's going to win, I have no clue.
Yeah.
I'd pick one of those 4 teams, but again, it could be any one.
It could be like 2021, where we're like, okay, well, it's either going to be Cherry or Trevor. And then Ethan just comes through, cleans up house.
Yeah, but I wouldn't pick...
I'm not going to pick a Steve, an Adam, a Jasmus.
It's also, if you look at the power rankings every single week this whole year, besides those first 5 weeks where then Cherry was 5-0, that was like when he got into the top 4. They've been at the top 4 of the power rankings the whole year. Like, it's not like, oh, well, they're just getting hot now. It's like they've been good this whole season. They have the 4 best records, and they have the 4 most points scored by a lot. So I think it could be kind of any of them. But what you just said, I was going to bring up. If you look at our past history, from the champions, we have 2 1 seeds that rode it all the way through. I believe that was me
and
Cherry.
Yeah.
Then we had 2 6 seeds. We had Griff in the first year, just sneaking into the playoffs.
And Ethan.
Running the table. And then Ethan just sneaking in, running the table. And then last year, Zach was a 4 seed. He just snuck in his division, but the division was harder, so he was like seeded a little bit higher. And then made a run. So I think that's pretty interesting that no Sec 2 seed with a bye has ever won a championship.
That is interesting.
And we have more 6 seeds than 2 seeds. So I think that could be, maybe it's the case of, okay, you're like a Steve right now, and you're on the fringe of kind of getting in. Maybe some players are playing a little bit above expectations right now. Maybe, or you're a Jasmus, you're just getting a few people back off injury. You're getting Sean back, you're getting Fields back. So now you're like, man, I might make a run at this thing. Then you make a trade, get a stud to add to the lineup. Now you know your team's healthy. They're all on track. They're all playing well. And you ride that into the playoffs by just buying at the right time at the deadline. Where maybe you look at, I don't know, to pick out of them. I don't know. If we look at Griff's team, it was like, okay, well, like, Jefferson's hurt. He is coming back, but injured. Tony Pollard hasn't quite been living up to expectations. Like, Josh Allen, also a little bit disappointing now after, like, a good start. Then maybe it's like this guy gets a little bit banged up. What we saw from Jasmus last year, kind of what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah.
Dominant, but then it's like, oh, now we hit the injury. Now this guy's banged up. Oh, this guy's missing a week. And you don't have it at the right time. Where Zach, who, week 10, it's like, I'm getting Kittle, I'm getting Higbee. I've added these guys. He traded for Montgomery from you, and it's like, these guys are playing well. I'm going to get them right now for the playoffs, and then are able to ride that momentum to a championship. So I do think that was a little bit of a rant, but off of topic a little. But I think just because it's those 4 teams, it's not another team can't win. I just think, obviously right now those 4 are separated above, and it's a bigger separation in years past than other times. So I agree with what Trevor is also saying, or asked. I do think there is a bigger margin in those 4 compared to other teams, where I think in the past it might have been like 1 or 2 teams, and then from 3 to 8 might have been a little bit closer compared to now. It's those 4 and then everybody else.
And then Ryan.
And then,
50 layers of shit. And then Ryan.
And James and maybe Matt and me now. And we got like the Cherry, Ethan, or Cherry, Evan, Steve Jasmus tier. I think I think if you split up the teams right now, I could maybe be in that tier, but like the bottom of it. But I'm probably the top of the really bad tier right now.
Are we ever gonna be good? Like,
But I
we
think
do
those
the
are
show
the three
every
tiers.
week, and we're like, hey guys, we're gonna be good eventually. We're trying.
Yeah,
But-
for sure. But I think those are,
Yeah.
if I had to break out the tiers, those four elite contenders, these
The hopefuls.
4 to 5 of like the, if we get hot at the right time, could go the whole way.
And the 4 wake me up for the draft.
Yeah. What was your, now what's the big surprise?
All right, the big surprise question. So Steve asked us, and I'm only gonna do this once. All right, he asked for the Cranberry Championship odds. I'm doing this once. No one ever ask again. We're gonna go through the playoff hopefuls or likelies, and we're gonna give them championship odds.
This is fine.
This is.
I
I
think
just don't want to hear the rest of the year. Oh, what about this team's championship? Oh, what about this? Like, shut up.
Well, maybe we do it this week, and then maybe we do it in a week or two. Maybe we just do it quick. We'll do it a little
Okay.
bit longer now, and then quick.
Devil Rays
For championship,
championship odds.
what do you think?
I'm going plus 300. I think it's a 1 in 30. Because we just talked about how there's 4 really
Yeah.
good teams that could beat each other.
Yeah, I
any given
agree with
week.
that.
30. So I'm gonna go plus 300. Wide receiver U.
Also plus 300.
I'll probably say, just for a little parity and with recency bias, we'll say plus 310.
Actually, I want to move Griff to plus 280.
Plus
and,
280.
310 for Trevor, because I think if Griff pulls out the bye, I think just not having to play that 1 week, it relieves a lot of stress, and it's like, man, if that's your bad week,
Yeah.
could get upset, where the bye is a big advantage.
Zach. I'll go plus 375. Right now, he will probably have a harder path, just with the chance that he might not even make it.
Yeah. Sure.
Evan, plus 900. I'm sorry, buddy. It's an 8-year stranded count, but I got to be honest with these odds.
Yeah, I'm
You
gonna
have an uphill battle to make the playoffs, then pulling out 3 straight weeks.
I'll go like plus 1,500.
Plus 1,500.
Plus 1,500.
Cherry and the Steamrollers, plus 2,000.
Yeah, I was thinking 2-3.
War Eagles, here's my Venmo. You might as well just send me the money. Ethan,
I'll go 290.
plus 290. He will have probably the guaranteed buy.
Yeah, maybe even a little smidge. Maybe like 260, just because
260?
he's gonna get that bye,
Yeah.
and
Where Griffin's
again,
not guaranteed.
He
yet.
just needs 2 wins if other people need 3.
Yeah. Steve, this is the guy who asked the question. Not gonna lie, brother. Probably putting you at like 850.
I think he's almost a lock to get into the playoffs. I think he's got good enough depth if there was an injury to happen. I think it's an uphill battle to,
Because you're going to be playing.
Your first game's going to be against probably.
Odds are Trevor is picking who you play.
Yeah.
Or who he plays.
Trevor or Zach is going to pick probably between Steve, me, and Jasmus, and then the other one's playing Zach.
Yeah. So, off rip, I'm probably going to say plus 900.
I don't know. I think the playoff, the fact that he's. What did you give Evan?
We gave Evan a plus 1,500.
I did, but you first came out at 900.
I said 950.
So you think Evan and Steve have the same odds of winning the championship?
I guess not. I guess I would
I'd go
move
Steve like
700.
700.
Okay, well, I can live with that number. Adam, plus 1,200. It's not looking great, man. You're starting Pierre Straw this week. And Tommy Tremble.
Yeah, I would have said 11, but I totally see 12. Again, if you make it to the playoffs, it's like,
But
who knows what
I gave
happens.
you 12 because I think a team that's going to make the playoffs over you but still not do great in them. Jasmus, I would put at 11.
I think Jasmus, I'd put it like 850.
850?
I think he's got a better shot to make the playoffs. Not as good as Steve. Or maybe like 950. But man, we've seen what a cup game could do. We've seen what an Eckler game can do. We've seen what a Achan game could do. We've seen what a Fields game could do. I just listed you 4 players that I wouldn't be surprised if you told me they scored 40 points on any given week. You get one of those, then another, and then another. Like, that could be enough to ride a few games and a championship run. Do I think it's the most likely? No, but sure.
Then James,
Plus-
here's my Venmo.
Yeah, plus
Plus 2,000.
5,000.
5,000. Plus 5,000 for James. Matt.
Plus 10,000.
But Matt's team is so much better than James's.
But I think James has a better shot of making the playoffs.
He's starting Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, but it's against you.
We started Dalvin Cook last week.
Okay, but James's schedule is you, Jasmus, Steve, me. None of the powerhouses. Matt's is Cherry, you, Ethan, Steve.
Okay.
I think we just have more of that guaranteed loss for Matt, where James doesn't have a guaranteed loss. I think neither of them are even going to make the playoffs, but
Again, here's my Venmo.
yeah.
Here's my Venmo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was playoff odds. Don't ask next week. We're not doing questions
Cool.
next week.
Maybe. Anybody can just ask questions whenever, and then if we want to answer them, sure.
You are giving them far too much power.
What was I going to just say? Okay. This is going to be possibly, like, me, Steve, or Jasmus, or I guess James or Matt. Or, like, your path to a championship is probably going to be, like, Griff, Trevor, Zach. If you win, you're going to probably get picked by Griff, Trevor, Zach, or Ethan, whoever finishes with the best record, them, and then you're probably facing another one of them in the championship. When you look at that, it's like, oh, I just need to beat, Griff, a guy that's lost, if he played everybody, 15 games all year. Just got to do that once. Oh, and then Trevor, a guy that's only lost 17. Okay. And then, like an Ethan that's only lost like 20. So you need to be one of those 15, one of those 17, one of those 20. Just 3 weeks in a row. I think I looked at it. I think I beat Griff like twice this year. I beat Trevor like twice this year. I beat Ethan like twice this year, and I think I beat Zach twice this year. So it's like, when I was looking at, like, man, do I have a good shot? It was like, okay, out of 10 weeks,
I got a
a 20% chance of beating these guys if we're looking at the 10-week season, and I just need to hit that 20% chance 3 weeks in a row if I even get there, and I didn't love those odds. So I said bye to
I have a
someone.
funny to ask you.
What's up?
When you scroll down to me, and what would I be against Griffin all year?
Yeah, you'd have a win.
We are in the perfect timeline.
Yeah. 1 week out of this whole season, you beat him.
And guess who I played that 1 week?
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about schedules.
That's the funny.
That's what, like, again, this is the first year I think, like, divisions are really out of whack. Because I think there's those 3 really good teams there, 1 here, and then I think out of the mid-tier, it's like, okay, then 2 are still there, 2 to 3 are here. So, like, it's definitely, this division's way stronger. But 2 people that you'd switch. Well, it's like, if you take Evan out, as he's the guy that's, like, right in the playoff hunt, and switch him with, like, James or whatever. Evan with James's schedule is 3-7.
So he's actually worse than now.
Yeah, he's not in the playoffs in our division if you switch their schedules. If you switch him with Steve, 4-6, again, right there fighting for the playoff spot. If you switch him with Ethan, 6-4 in the playoffs. If you switch him with Matt, 5-5, a game up in the playoffs. Switch him with Jasmus, 3-7, not in the playoffs. Switch him with me, 2-8,
not in the playoffs.
Drafting Marvin, like. So again, it's like, yeah, we switch those, but then now you have the worst. Like, now we're like, man, Steve is good there. Like, I don't, like, no. I mean, I guess I could just look. I have the power. Yeah, no, Steve is missing the playoffs.
And almost
any other scenario but this one. If he had Trevor's schedule, he'd be 5-5. But then if you switch him, he's not there. If you switch him and Jasmine's schedule, he's 1-9 right now. That's got to feel good to hear coming from you.
I think
the owner of Steve's pick.
I think we're done with this episode. Huh?
Yeah, we could.
I think we're gonna call it wraps there. Before I break shit.
Griff's undefeated with cherries. Schedule. Matt's winless with Jasmus's schedule.
Well, now you're making Evan feel bad. You're just going after all the Anteater stands this week, aren't you?
Trevor is undefeated with Jasmus's schedule. I don't know. Everybody's like worse with it except for Trevor, who's just undefeated. I don't know.
Crazy
but that's
shit, man.
I just think like the schedule, it could be so unlucky. Even like you look at points against, like
It's James.
James has the worst points against. I'm close.
Jasmus is close.
Up there, it's like Evan is,
Zach's pretty close.
but it's like again, my points against get a lot worse because I faced Zach last week who put up 185. But like, okay, that doesn't really matter. I had to put up 190 to get the win. Like, that's just boosting my points against. I think it's way harder when you're facing, like, 120, 120, 120, 120, 120. So you always have to be good to kind of get to the playoffs. Besides, like, I think I also faced Griff when he put, like, 180 on me. Like 180 dropped on me, like, twice in a row or something. Like, so that boosts my points against, but it's like I was never going to win that. Like, so my schedule maybe is harder, easier. I don't know. I think schedule makes a huge difference. Again, I do still think the divisions are tough, but again, you could see people, their whole season gets flipped around if you give them a different schedule. Again, obviously the good teams are probably still good. The worst Griff could be right now is 7-3. The worst Trevor could be is 7-3. He's living in his worst.
Living his worst life.
Yeah. 10-0 with Jasmus, Zach, or Steve's schedule, but I don't know. I think schedule is a big difference maker in a lot of this.
Yeah.
And that's my take on the schedule.
Now I'm going to go invent time travel and make Adam switch Steve and Jasmus's schedule around. But that's all for this week. Come back next week when the timeline has changed. Yeah, we will see you then. Not you, a different version of you in a different timeline, but you get the point.